My friend, and welcome to the Pastor's Podcast this Wednesday morning. And it is good to have you along with me today as we're in the middle of the week. I am looking forward to church tonight. I'm excited about our Bible study. I know what I'm teaching on. I think that anybody that's here tonight is going to truly enjoy the Bible study, and I think it's going to be helpful to them as well. So I'd encourage you tonight, 7 o'clock, Maranatha Baptist Church. Let's be in our place. Now, don't forget all the teaching times before. Don't forget Teenage Blast. Don't forget Foundations class. Don't forget the Children's Choir. All that at 6:15. You be in your place this Wednesday night. Then the great evening Bible study starts at 7. Looking forward to another lesson in the book of Genesis as we go through the book of Genesis and study it. And boy, you could stay there. You could stay there for a long time if you really wanted to. But of course we can't. And there's a lot of things that need to be covered, but we got to stay busy and keep moving forward. A lot of truths that we could cover just from one book. And I'm excited about getting tonight's Bible study out. Now, you, wherever you are, you be in your church as you listen to me. Your church probably has a midweek service. Let's be faithful. Every service, be faithful so that way we can grow in the Lord. Well, today, I want to read to you from Genesis chapter 26 and verse 18. The scripture says, "And Isaac digged again the wells of water, which they had digged in the days of Abraham his father, for the Philistines had stopped them after the death of Abraham, and he called their names after the names by which the father had called them." Now, Abraham was dead, and it'd be easy for Isaac to just let the wells that his father dug stay filled and just dig his own and name them after what he wanted to. Now, the Philistines filled every well Abraham dug because the Philistines understood. They filled them up. When I say fill them up, they filled them up with dirt. That's what I'm talking about. So the Philistines didn't want those wells there. They just filled them up because they understood what those wells meant to the ground that those wells were dug on, which was the heritage of Israel. Isaac determined to redig these wells. But every time he redug the well, the Philistines tried to fill them up again with dirt. So to Isaac's credit, he kept redigging the wells and called each well by the same name, I love this, that his father called them. Now, Isaac could have easily left those wells filled and dug his own wells so that he could build a name for himself. But he understood his heritage was bigger than himself. Isaac understood those wells represented the heritage given to them by God. And though his father, Abraham, dug those wells, he was digging like God told him. Isaac could have easily pointed out his father's weaknesses and deemed those wells, well, they're just not worthy of redigging. But he was better than that. And he understood the importance of every well that his father had dug. Now, it is every generation's responsibility to redig the wells of the old paths and fight the same battles for those wells that the previous generation dug and fought for. Sadly, many of our brethren are doing the work of the Philistines of trying to stop up the wells instead of redigging the wells that our fathers have dug. Satan doesn't have to fill them up because we got people in our own circles trying to fill them up. Now, these wells represent three things that we should redig for the next generation to enjoy. First, these wells represent the heritage of the old past. Now, I thank God for my heritage and everyone who worked in it. Our heritage is the King James Bible, separation, holiness, soul winning, the local independent Paths Baptist Church, Sunday school, and old-fashioned preaching. This is just to name a few. Now, every generation has to redig those wells and fight to redig these wells. There's nothing wrong with the wells of our heritage. Instead of trying to stop these wells, we ought to redig them so the next generation knows about them. Listen to me very carefully. I remember sitting under Brother Hiles. Brother Hiles he fought hard for the King James Bible and for the local church. And I remember he said, now you guys are going to have to fight the same battle. I'd sat there and I thought, man, he's fighting it for us. He's won this battle. Pretty much everybody, we knew who was who back in those days. And I thought, we'll never have to fight them. Boy, are we having to fight them now. You've got churches and colleges putting allowing books in their bookstores that don't use the King James Bible. You got pastors allowing people to come into their services that use versions other than the King James Bible, allow them to put their slides up without that. And you got churches that are losing their soul winning times. Now, I'm saying our heritage of the old past is critical. Listen to me. This generation is going to have to fight it as well. And I'm saying we've got to redig those wells. Every battle that the previous generation has fought, this generation is going to have to fight. We're going to have to fight for the local independent Baptist church. Listen to me. Bible colleges are to be under a church, not separate from a church, not friendly to a church, under a church. There's some colleges out there. Now, I could name them. I'm not going to right now, but I'm getting this close. I'm starting naming. There's one in my town where I go to, pretty large college. Everybody's sending their people to. That college is not under a local church. I can think of one in Florida. That college is not under a local church. I mean, every ministry should come out of a local church. Now, we've got to redig these wells. If the local church is critical, and it is, Christ died for the church. He didn't die for the parachurch ministry. He died for the church. There's online colleges that have no local church. I'm saying everything, we got to redig these wells, the heritage of the old past. Saying these wells represent the terminology of the old past. So Isaac didn't dig these wells and give them a new name, but he called them by the name that his father called them. Now, our terminology does matter. Terminology tells where we have been studying from. For instance, we don't have connection cards at our church. We have visitors cards. You say, why? What's the big deal? Terminology. Isaac named the well that his father, we had visitors cards before, and that's what we call them now. I don't have connection groups in my church, and I don't have small groups in my church. I have Sunday school in my church. What's the big deal? The big deal is terminology does matter, my friend. And it's where you're getting it from. Because for you to be changing your names of these things right here, you say, it's just a small thing, Brother Donald. Yeah, those small things end up being big things. It's telling me where you're getting your information from. And we do it. For instance, I don't have praise and worship teams. I have a choir. You say, Brother Donald, you're going too far. No. Isaac named the well after the name his father named them. He didn't say, well, I want to give it a new name. I want to make it more modern for today. We don't need more modern terms. Just use the terms that we use scriptural terms. We don't have a worship service. We have a preaching service. Redigging the wells of terminology does matter because it shows the next generation who they should study. You see, when you're taking the modern day terms of evangelicals and using those terms in our independent Baptist churches, you're telling the generation underneath us, hey, study the evangelicals, which will cause them not to be right and to lose their doctrine, my friend. Don't kid yourself. This terminology thing is bigger than what most realize. I'm saying redig the wells of our heritage. Redig the wells of terminology. Third, redig the wells of the methods of the old past. Now, we need to redig the wells of soul winning, baptizing converts immediately after they get saved, bus ministry, old-fashioned preaching, Sunday school, church services 3 times a week, building churches. These are methods that we've used in our independent Baptist churches. Now, these methods still work if we'll work them. Don't let those doing the work of the Philistines to try to stop these wells by casting a shadow on them and on the leaders of the past to say this, well, they're sinners, as if nobody in this generation is not a sinner. Well, hogwash. You bunch of Pharisees out there that want to cast a cloud on a Jack Hyles, on a Lee Robertson, on a J. Frank Norris. You know why you're doing that, because you want to change. You compromiser. The truth is, I thank God for the methods that these men have given to us. And I'm not trying to change it. It's worked here at Maranatha Baptist Church pretty well. Now, don't be afraid to embrace those who walk the old paths, redig the same wells and use the same terminology and use the same method. The bus ministry does work. Soul winning does work. Sunday school does work. Now, don't cancel these things. Just keep doing them. My friend, if we will keep these things, if we just keep redigging the wells, we got another generation that'll come in after us and say, well, apparently those wells are pretty important. I'm going to keep doing the same thing. It's critical. We got to know what we believe and keep going. Listen, stop going to the new generation. Let's go to the old generation. Let's learn from them, because they learned from someone before them. They didn't create it. They just took it. And some of them, they were able to show us how to do it in a better way, in a bigger way. And that's all. They didn't change. Now, I'm challenging you. Okay, let me illustrate. Before Jack Isles ever had the largest Sunday school in the world, Dallas Billington had the largest Sunday school in the United States. Now, Dallas Billington was a predecessor to Brother Hiles. Before Dallas Billington ever had the largest Sunday school in America, J. Frank Norris had the largest Sunday school in America. What was he doing? Redigging the wells. My friend, that's what we need. Get people that will just redig the wells. Stop trying something new. Let's just keep doing what we ought to do. We know what to do. Let's do it because it still works and it's critical to the next generation. Well, I hope this is a help to you today. Now, let's remember today, be good to everyone. Everyone's having a